The conference room fell silent as Ambassador Patricia Lang finished her presentation. Around the circular table sat representatives from dozens of worlds, each more unusual than the last. Some had scales, others had feathers, and a few glowed faintly in the dim light. The humans were the newest members of this gathering, and everyone knew it. Patricia straightened her papers and sat down. Across from her, High Delegate Voreth leaned back in his chair. The Kraven representative was tall, with dark green scales that caught the light from the holographic displays floating above the table. His yellow eyes fixed on Patricia with something close to contempt. "The human proposal is, as expected, primitive," Voreth said. His voice carried across the room like gravel being crushed. "You ask for trade routes through established territories. You request military cooperation agreements, yet you bring nothing of value to this coalition." Patricia kept her face neutral. They had prepared for this. "Delegate Voreth, humanity offers unique perspectives on problem-solving, resource management, and—" "Unique perspectives." Voreth stood, his robes flowing around him. "You mean the perspectives of a species that only left their own star system 40 cycles ago. A species from a Class 12 death world who thinks violence solves everything." An insectoid delegate clicked her mandibles nervously. Several others shifted in their seats. The term death world always made them uncomfortable when applied to humans. "We have followed all protocols," Patricia said calmly. "Our security forces are here only for protection, as permitted by coalition law." "Security forces," Voreth laughed a harsh sound. "You mean your soldiers, your killers." Commander Brian Foster, seated beside Patricia, tensed. He was the senior military officer present, responsible for the small security detail outside. Patricia placed a hand on his arm, a gentle warning to stay calm. The session chairman, an elderly being named Alex whose species Patricia could never pronounce, raised one of his 4 hands. "Let us take a recess. We will reconvene in 1 standard hour." The delegates began filing out. Patricia gathered her materials slowly, letting the others leave first. Foster leaned close to her. "That reptile is trying to provoke us," he whispered. "I know," Patricia replied, "which is exactly why we will not react." Outside in the corridor, Corporal Danny Reed stood at his assigned position. The young soldier had been with the diplomatic corps for 6 months now, long enough to know that standing still and looking professional was 90% of the job. He watched the various aliens walk past, some giving him curious looks, others ignoring him completely. The corridor was quiet now. Most of the delegates had gone to their quarters or to the station's common areas. Danny relaxed slightly, though his training kept him alert. His hand rested near his sidearm, a habit beaten into him during basic training. Heavy footsteps echoed down the hall. Danny recognized the sound. Kraven had a distinctive walk, their clawed feet clicking on the metal floors. He kept his eyes forward, professional and neutral. Voreth rounded the corner and stopped. He looked directly at Danny, those yellow eyes measuring him like prey. Danny remained still. Eye contact was respectful. Moving away would show weakness, something his instructors had warned against when dealing with Kraven culture. Stand your ground, show respect, maintain professionalism. Voreth walked forward until he was directly in front of Danny, too close, invading personal space. Danny could smell him now, something like sulfur and old leather. "Move aside, human," Voreth said. The corridor was wide enough for 10 people to walk side by side. There was plenty of room to pass. "Sir, the corridor is open," Danny replied, keeping his voice level and polite. Voreth's eyes narrowed. When a superior tells you to move, you move. "Sir, you are not in my chain of command." Danny kept his tone respectful but firm. This was a test. The Kraven were known for testing others, especially humans. Show weakness once and they would exploit it forever. "Insolent." Voreth's hand moved faster than Danny expected. The slap came hard across Danny's face, the scaled palm striking with enough force to turn his head. Pain exploded across his cheek. The metallic taste of blood filled his mouth. Danny's body responded before his mind caught up. Years of combat training took over. Threat detected. Neutralize. His hand shot out and gripped Voreth's throat. His other hand pulled the combat knife from his belt in one smooth motion. The blade was at Voreth's neck in less than half a second. Voreth froze. His yellow eyes went wide with genuine fear. Danny's brain finally caught up to his body. Horror washed over him. His hand was crushing an alien delegate's windpipe. His knife was seconds away from ending a life. This was not combat. This was a diplomatic station. This was murder. He could feel Voreth's pulse under his fingers, fast, panicked. The scales were rough against his palm. The knife was sharp, so sharp. One movement and this creature would die. Stop, stop, stop. Danny forced his hand to release. He pulled the knife back and stepped away, his whole body shaking. The knife fell from his trembling fingers and clattered on the floor. Voreth stumbled backward, both hands clutching his throat, gasping for air. I did not. Danny could not form words. What had he done? What had he almost done? Footsteps running, shouting. Station security rounded the corner, weapons drawn. 4 guards in white and blue armor, their weapons pointed at both Danny and Voreth. Freeze, both of you, hands where we can see them. Danny raised his hands immediately. His training again. Follow orders, comply with security. His hands were still shaking. Other witnesses appeared, delegates who had been in nearby rooms. They stared at the scene with shock and fear. A human soldier with his hands up. A Kraven delegate gasping for breath. A knife on the floor. Station Commander Alex arrived, moving faster than Danny thought possible for someone so old. The insectoid's compound eyes took in everything at once. Secure them both, Alex ordered. Seal this corridor. I want every witness identified and separated for questioning. Danny did not resist as the guards approached. He let them take his sidearm, let them scan him for other weapons. His mind was replaying the last 30 seconds over and over. Half a second. That was all it had taken. Half a second and he had almost killed someone. Voreth was shouting now, his voice returning. Attempted murder, he tried to kill me. The human savage tried to kill me. Danny said nothing. What could he say? Voreth was right. He had tried to kill him. His body had tried. His training had tried. Only something deeper, some last shred of control, had stopped the blade from moving those final few centimeters. As the guards led him away, Danny caught sight of Ambassador Patricia Lang rushing down the corridor. The look on her face was a mixture of concern and something else. Disappointment, maybe, or fear. Danny had just started a war. Danny sat in the small holding room with his head in his hands. The walls were gray metal, cold and featureless. A single light panel glowed overhead. No windows, no sounds from outside, just him and his thoughts were not kind. He kept seeing it. The moment his hand moved, the feeling of scales under his fingers, the weight of the knife, how easy it would have been, how close he had come. The door hissed open. Ambassador Patricia Lang entered, followed by a man Danny had never seen before. The stranger was older, maybe 60, with gray hair and kind eyes. He wore a simple brown jacket with a coalition medical badge. Corporal Reed, Patricia said. Her voice was controlled, diplomatic. This is Dr. Henry Wells. He is here to evaluate you. Evaluate me for what? Danny looked up. Court-martial, execution. Nothing like that. Dr. Wells pulled up a chair and sat across from Danny. I am a xenopsychologist. I study how different species think and react. I need to understand what happened out there. I almost killed him, Danny said flatly. What else is there to understand? Patricia sat down as well. The security footage has been reviewed by Station Commander Alex and the Coalition Tribunal. They saw everything. Danny waited. Here it comes. The condemnation, the charges. They saw Voreth strike you first, Dr. Wells said. They saw your response time. 0.3 seconds from impact to full combat posture. Is that normal for human soldiers? Normal, Danny almost laughed. Doc, that is what we train for. Threat response. Immediate action drills. We practice until it becomes automatic. Dr. Wells pulled out a data pad and made notes. Automatic. So your conscious mind was not in control. Not at first. Danny rubbed his face. The bruise from Voreth's slap was swelling now. My body reacted, training kicked in, assessed the threat, neutralize it. By the time my brain caught up, I was all ready. He could not finish the sentence. Patricia leaned forward. But you stopped. That is what matters, Danny. You stopped yourself. Barely. Danny's hands were shaking again. Another second and I would have killed a coalition delegate on a diplomatic station. Do you understand what that means? Yes, Patricia said quietly. It means war. It means humanity gets expelled from the coalition. It means everything we have worked for ends. Then why am I not in chains? Dr. Wells looked up from his notes. Because stopping is also part of your training, is it not? The restraint. Danny nodded slowly. Rules of engagement, escalation of force. Use only the force necessary to eliminate the threat. Stop when the threat stops. And did the threat stop? Dr. Wells asked. He was not a threat. Danny's voice was barely a whisper. He slapped me. That is not combat. That is not war. He was just being an asshole and I almost murdered him for it. The door opened again. Commander Brian Foster entered, his face grim. He looked at Patricia, then at Danny. The Craven delegation is demanding execution, Foster said. They are calling it attempted murder of a diplomatic official. They want Danny handed over within the hour, or they will consider it an act of war. Patricia stood. What does the tribunal say? They are divided. Foster pulled up another chair. The small room was getting crowded. Some species are terrified of us now. They saw the footage. They saw how fast Danny moved. They are calling humans too dangerous to be part of the coalition. And the others? Patricia asked. Some are asking questions, Dr. Wells said. Good questions. Like why would a species train soldiers to be so lethal if they did not also train them to be restrained? And why would a soldier stop himself if he was truly a savage killer? Danny looked at the doctor. You are defending me. I am explaining you, Dr. Wells corrected. There is a difference. The coalition has never encountered a species quite like humans before. You are from a Class 12 death world. Do you know what that means? I know Earth is dangerous, Danny said. So what? Dr. Wells activated his data pad and projected a hologram. Images of Earth appeared, predators hunting, storms raging, earthquakes splitting the ground, volcanoes erupting. Class 12 means your world actively tries to kill you, Dr. Wells explained. Most coalition species come from Class 4 or Class 5 worlds. Mild climates, few predators, stable geology. They evolved in gardens compared to Earth. That is not our fault, Danny said. No, but it explains you. Dr. Wells changed the images. Now it showed human evolution. Early humans running down prey, fighting predators, surviving ice ages. Humans are persistence predators. You evolved to chase, to hunt, to kill. Your entire biology is designed for it. Foster crossed his arms. Doc, this is not helping Danny's case. Actually, it is. Dr. Wells turned off the hologram. Because humans also evolve something else. Empathy, cooperation, the ability to override instinct with choice. You could have killed Voreth, Danny. Your body was ready. Your training was ready, but you chose not to. Barely, Danny repeated. Barely is enough, Patricia said. Most species in the coalition cannot even comprehend what you did. They do not have those instincts to fight against. They do not understand the discipline it takes. A chime sounded. Foster checked his communicator. His expression darkened. "The tribunal is convening in 1 hour," he said. "They want to hear from Danny directly." Danny stood, his legs felt weak. "What do I say?" "The truth," Patricia said. "Tell them exactly what happened, what you felt, what you thought. Let them see that you are not a monster." "But what if they decide I am?" Danny asked. No one had an answer for that. Dr. Wells packed up his data pad. "For what it is worth, Corporal, I have studied 17 different species in my career. I have never seen one that fights so hard against its own nature. That takes incredible strength." "Or incredible fear," Danny said quietly. "Sometimes they are the same thing." Dr. Wells headed for the door, then paused. "The Kraven have a saying, might makes right. They believe the strong should dominate the weak. Do you know what I think makes humans different?" Danny shook his head. "You believe might makes responsibility." Dr. Wells left. Patricia put a hand on Danny's shoulder. 1 hour. We prepare your testimony. We show them who we really are." Danny looked at his hands, hands that could kill, hands that had chosen not to. "I hope that is enough," he said. The tribunal chamber was larger than the conference room, with curved walls that seemed to absorb sound. Hundreds of delegates filled the ascending rows of seats, representing every species in the coalition. Danny had never seen so many different life forms in one place. The air smelled strange, a mixture of chemicals and biologics that made his nose itch. He stood in the center of the room on a raised platform. A single light shone down on him. Everyone could see him clearly. He felt naked despite his uniform. Station Commander Alex presided from an elevated podium. The ancient insectoid's compound eyes reflected the light in strange patterns. "This tribunal will now address the incident between Corporal Daniel Reed of Earth and High Delegate Vorath of Kraven Prime," Alex announced. His voice carried through hidden speakers. "We will hear evidence, testimony, and arguments before rendering judgment." To Danny's left stood the Kraven delegation, 7 of them, all wearing ceremonial robes. Vorath was among them, a bandage around his throat. His yellow eyes burned with hatred. To Danny's right stood Ambassador Patricia Lang, Commander Foster, and Dr. Wells. 3 humans against an entire galaxy. A Kraven advocate stepped forward, a female with lighter green scales and sharp features. She activated a holographic display. "The evidence is clear," she began. "The human soldier attacked our delegate without provocation. The security footage shows the assault clearly." The hologram played. Danny watched himself grip Vorath's throat, watched the knife appear, watched how close the blade came to ending a life. Several delegates gasped. Some stood up from their seats, agitated. "This is the nature of humans," the advocate continued. "Violent, unpredictable, dangerous. They bring their deathworld savagery into civilized space." She changed the display. Now it showed scenes from Earth's history. Wars, battles, weapons, death. Humans have spent their entire existence fighting each other, fighting their world, fighting everything. They are predators who can barely control themselves. This soldier proves it. One slap and he nearly committed murder. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Danny saw fear on many faces. Some delegates were already standing to leave. Alex struck a chime for order. "The Kraven have presented their case. Will the human delegation respond?" Patricia stepped forward. She looked small on the massive floor, but her voice was strong. "Yes, Commander, we will present our evidence." She activated her own display. The same footage played, but this time it included audio and slowed down to show every detail. "Watch carefully," Patricia said. High Delegate Vorath approaches Corporal Reed. Reed stands at attention, as is proper for a soldier on duty. Vorath demands Reed move aside despite the corridor being empty. Reed politely declines, explaining that Vorath is not in his chain of command. The footage showed the exchange. Danny's voice was respectful, calm, professional. Then Vorath strikes Reed across the face. A full-force blow. You can see Reed's head snap to the side from the impact. Blood appears from his mouth. The slap played in slow motion. Several delegates leaned forward, seeing it clearly now. Vorath had struck first. Reed's response time is 0.3 seconds. For humans, this is the result of extensive training. But notice what else happens. The footage slowed even further. Danny's hand moved to Vorath's throat. The knife appeared. Then the blade stopped, trembled, pulled back. He stops himself, Patricia said. At the moment of maximum advantage, when he could easily kill, he chooses not to. He releases Vorath and steps away. This is not the action of a savage. This is discipline. She changed the display again. Now it showed human soldiers in various situations, saving wounded aliens, protecting civilians, holding fire when they could have shot. Humans are dangerous, Patricia admitted. We come from a harsh world. We evolved as hunters, but we also evolved as protectors, as communities. We learned to control our instincts because without that control, we would have destroyed ourselves long ago. An avian delegate stood, her feathered crest rising. But the potential is there. We saw it. That human could have killed in less than a second. Yes, Patricia agreed. And that is precisely why we train so hard, why we drill discipline into every soldier, why we teach rules of engagement and escalation of force, because we know what we are capable of. Dr. Wells stepped forward now. May I address the tribunal? Alex nodded permission. I have spent the last 6 hours analyzing the footage frame by frame, Dr. Wells said. I have also studied Corporal Reed's psychological profile and training records. What I found is remarkable. He projected a new display showing Danny's brain patterns during the incident, reconstructed from the security footage and biometric data. When Vorath struck Reed, his amygdala activated immediately. This is the fight-or-flight response. In humans, this is incredibly powerful because we evolved to face constant threats. Reed's body flooded with adrenaline, his muscles prepared for combat, his vision sharpened, his pain response shut down. The brain scan showed areas lighting up in sequence. But here is what makes humans unique. Even as his primitive brain screamed for violence, his prefrontal cortex remained active. This is the area responsible for decision-making, for ethics, for choosing not to act on impulse. Reed's body wanted to kill. His training wanted to kill, but his mind said no. Dr. Wells looked around the chamber. Most species in this coalition do not have such strong violent impulses, but they also do not have such strong control mechanisms. Humans had to develop both to survive. We are not dangerous despite our control. We are safe because of it. The Kraven advocate hissed. Beautiful words, but words do not change what happened. The human attacked our delegate. After your delegate committed assault, Commander Foster said, stepping forward. Let us be clear about the sequence of events. Vorath initiated physical violence against a soldier on duty. In human military law, that is assault on a service member. Reed responded with appropriate defensive force and immediately ceased when the threat was neutralized. That is textbook application of rules of engagement. He put a knife to Vorath's throat, the advocate shouted. And did not use it, Foster replied calmly. That is the point. That is what you keep missing. Humans have the capacity for incredible violence. We also have the capacity to choose not to use it. That choice is what makes us civilized. Alex struck the chime again. The tribunal will now hear from Corporal Reed himself. Approach and speak. Danny's mouth went dry. Every eye in the chamber focused on him. He stepped forward to the speaking platform, his legs somehow still working despite the trembling. His voice cracked. He cleared his throat and tried again. I do not know what to say that has not already been said. Tell us what you felt, Alex said. When Vorath struck you, what went through your mind? Danny closed his eyes, remembering. Pain first, then anger, then training took over. I did not think about grabbing him. My body just did it. The knife was in my hand before I knew I had drawn it. And then, Alex prompted. Then I saw his eyes. Danny opened his own eyes, looking at Vorath. He was terrified, and I realized what I was doing, what I was about to do. I was about to kill someone because he slapped me. That is not defense. That is murder. So you stopped, Alex said. I had to. Danny's hands clenched at his sides. Because if I did not, then everything they say about us is true. We would be savages, monsters. I am a soldier, not a murderer. There is a difference. The chamber was silent. The difference is choice, Danny continued. Every human soldier learns this. We have the power to take life. That power means we also have the responsibility to preserve it whenever possible. Vorath hit me. He hurt me. But he was not trying to kill me, so I did not kill him. The Kraven advocate started to speak, but Alex raised a hand for silence. The tribunal will deliberate, Alex announced. We will reconvene in 1 hour with our judgment. Danny sat in a side chamber with Patricia and the others. The waiting was worse than the testimony. At least during the tribunal he had something to focus on. Now there was just silence and worry. Commander Foster paced back and forth, his boots clicking on the metal floor. Dr. Wells reviewed his notes on a data pad. Patricia stared at the wall, her diplomatic mask finally slipping to show exhaustion. I should have moved, Danny said suddenly. When Vorath told me to move, I should have just stepped aside. No, Foster stopped packing. You did exactly right. The Kraven respects strength, not submission. If you had moved, he would have seen it as weakness. He would have pushed harder next time. Instead, I nearly killed him, Danny said. Great improvement. You showed restraint under impossible circumstances. Patricia finally looked at him. That matters, Danny. That matters more than you know. The door opened. A young woman in coalition civilian clothes entered. She had brown skin and dark hair pulled back in a practical bun. Her badge identified her as station maintenance. Sorry to interrupt, she said. I am Carla Price. I work here on the station. I saw what happened in the corridor. Patricia stood quickly. You witnessed the incident. Some of it. Carla looked nervous. I was in the maintenance access near where it happened. I saw Vorath approach the soldier. I heard them talking. Did you give a statement to security? Foster asked. No, I left before they arrived. I was scared. Carla twisted her hands together. But I have been watching the tribunal feed. I heard what the Kraven are saying. They are lying about some things. What things? Patricia moved closer. Vorath knew exactly what he was doing, Carla said. I have worked on this station for 3 years. I have seen Kraven delegates interact with others. They test people, push boundaries, see who will submit and who will fight back. You think Vorath provoked Danny deliberately? Dr. Wells asked. I know he did. Carla pulled out her own data pad. I checked the corridor logs. Vorath left the conference room and went directly to where your soldier was stationed. He could have gone anywhere. There are a dozen routes to the Kraven quarters. He chose that specific corridor. Foster took the data pad and examined it. His eyes narrowed. This shows Vorath made a communications call right before approaching Danny. Do you know who he called? Another Kraven delegate, Carla said. I cannot access the content of the call, but the timing is suspicious. He called someone, then immediately went to confront your soldier. Patricia and Foster exchanged looks. He planned it, Patricia said quietly. This was not a random encounter. He deliberately created an incident. But why? Danny asked. What does he gain by provoking me? Dr. Wells stood up, his expression grim. Political leverage. Think about it. Humans are new to the coalition. Many species are already nervous about us because we come from a death world. If Vorath can make us look dangerous and uncontrolled, he discredits humanity's entire membership. The Kraven have been losing influence lately, Foster added. Their aggressive diplomacy does not work as well anymore. If humans get established in the coalition, we offer an alternative, a different kind of strength. So Voreth sacrificed his own safety to make me look like a monster, Danny said slowly. And you almost gave him exactly what he wanted, Patricia said. If you had killed him, humanity would be expelled from the coalition. The Kraven would be vindicated. Their way of doing things would be proven superior. Carla stepped forward. I will testify to the tribunal, tell them what I saw and what I know. It might help. It might get you in trouble with the Kraven, Foster warned. They do not forget people who oppose them. I know, Carla lifted her chin, but I did not come to this station to watch people get manipulated. If I can help set the record straight, I will. The door opened again. An official in tribunal robes entered. The tribunal is reconvening. Corporal Reed is required to return to the chamber. Danny stood, his heart pounding. This was it. Whatever happened next would determine not just his fate, but humanity's place in the galaxy. They filed back into the massive chamber. The seats were full again, every delegate present. The air felt electric with tension. Station Commander Alex waited for silence, then spoke. The tribunal has reviewed all evidence and testimony. We have also received new information from a civilian witness. Carla was already in the chamber, standing near the evidence platform. She must have contacted the tribunal directly while they were talking. Station maintenance worker Carla Price has provided communications logs and testimony suggesting High Delegate Voreth deliberately provoked Corporal Reed, Alex continued. This changes the context of the incident significantly. The Kraven delegation erupted in protests. Voreth himself stood, shouting, "Lies, human conspiracies." Alex struck the chime repeatedly until order returned. The evidence speaks for itself. The communications records are authentic. Voreth made contact with his delegation immediately before confronting Reed. He chose a specific route that required him to pass Reed's position despite multiple alternatives. So what? The Kraven advocate demanded. Even if he approached the human deliberately, that does not excuse attempted murder. No, agreed Alex. But it does show premeditation on Voreth's part. He initiated a confrontation knowing it might provoke a violent response. Under coalition law, one cannot claim victimhood when one deliberately creates the circumstances of conflict. A delegate from an aquatic species raised a tentacle. Commander Alex, what about the human's response? Regardless of provocation, he did attack a diplomatic official. He responded to assault with defensive force, Alex corrected, and ceased immediately when the threat stopped. We have consulted with experts on human psychology and military training. The consensus is clear. Corporal Reed acted within the bounds of his species' defensive protocols. Voreth slammed his fist on the railing. This is absurd. You are excusing violence. We are recognizing context, Alex replied. Different species have different threat responses. What matters is control, not capacity. Corporal Reed demonstrated exceptional control under extreme circumstances. Another delegate stood, this one a being covered in crystalline formations. But the fear remains. We saw how fast the human moved, how deadly he could be. How can we feel safe with such beings among us? Dr. Wells stepped forward. May I address that concern? Alex nodded. Every species in this coalition has capabilities others might fear, Dr. Wells said. The Kraven are physically stronger than most species here. The Vex can manipulate electromagnetic fields. The silicates can survive in environments that would kill anyone else. We all have advantages and dangers. He gestured to Danny. Humans are dangerous in combat. This is true. But we are also the only species I have studied that actively fights against our own instincts on a daily basis. Every human soldier is trained not just to fight, but to not fight when fighting is unnecessary. That is remarkable. The crystalline delegate considered this. You are saying we should trust humans despite their nature. I am saying you should trust them because of how they handle their nature, Dr. Wells replied. Control is not the absence of power. Control is power wielded responsibly. Alex raised all four hands for attention. The tribunal has reached a decision. The entire chamber fell silent. Corporal Daniel Reed is cleared of all charges, Alex announced. His actions were defensive and proportional. He demonstrated restraint when he could have used lethal force. Relief flooded through Danny. His knees nearly buckled. However, Alex continued, High Delegate Vorath is found guilty of assault on a coalition service member and of deliberately provoking an international incident. He is hereby stripped of diplomatic status and expelled from this station. The Kraven delegation exploded in fury. Vorath's roar echoed through the chamber. Security personnel moved in quickly, surrounding the Kraven section. Furthermore, Alex spoke over the chaos. The tribunal recommends immediate implementation of new protocols regarding physical contact between species and mandatory cultural sensitivity, training for all diplomatic personnel. Alex's eyes fixed on the entire assembly. We are a coalition of different worlds and different peoples. We must learn to understand each other, not fear each other. Today, we begin that learning. 3 days after the tribunal, Danny still could not quite believe it was over. He stood in the station's observation deck, staring out at the stars. The view never got old. Endless points of light against infinite darkness. Somewhere out there was Earth, too far away to see but always in his thoughts. Beautiful, is it not? Danny turned. An elderly delegate stood beside him, one he recognized from the tribunal. The being was tall and thin, with skin that seemed to shimmer between blue and silver. He had introduced himself as Morrow, representative of the Avian Confederacy. Yes, sir, Danny replied. I never get tired of looking at it. Morrow folded his wing-like arms. I wanted to speak with you privately, if you do not mind, about what happened. Danny tensed slightly. I have given my statement, sir, multiple times. I am not here for statements. Morrow's large eyes reflected the starlight. I am here because I owe you an apology. That caught Danny off guard, sir. When I first saw the security footage, I was frightened, Morrow admitted. I saw how fast you moved, how efficient you were. I thought to myself, these humans are too dangerous. We should not allow them in the coalition. A lot of delegates feel that way, Danny said quietly. Yes, and we are wrong. Morrow turned to face him fully. I have been a diplomat for 40 cycles. I have seen many species join the coalition. Some are strong, some are clever, some are industrious. But I have never seen a species that scares itself as much as humans scare themselves. Danny looked down at his hands. Fear is a good teacher. So is respect. Morrow gestured to a nearby bench. They both sat. Tell me something, Corporal. When you grabbed Vorath's throat, when you drew your knife, what were you thinking? I was not thinking, Danny said. That is the problem. My body reacted faster than my mind. But you did stop. Your mind caught up. Barely. Morrow tilted his head, a gesture that seemed thoughtful in his species. Do you know what I thought when I saw you stop, when I saw that blade pull away? Danny shook his head. I thought, this is a person who has practiced stopping, who has trained to not kill just as hard as he trained to kill. That is not instinct. That is choice cultivated over time. We have to train that way, Danny explained. Humans are good at violence, too good. If we did not learn control, we would destroy ourselves and everyone around us. Exactly, Morrow leaned back. My species evolved from flighted creatures on a gentle world. We have never known predation. We have never needed to fight for survival. When we encounter violence, we flee. It is instinct. That does not sound like a weakness, Danny said. Perhaps not, but it means we do not understand the choice you made. To us, violence is alien and terrifying. We cannot imagine having the power to kill and choosing not to use it. It is outside our experience. But you are here talking to me, Danny pointed out. So something changed. Dr. Wells changed it. Morrow smiled, a strange expression on his avian features. After the tribunal, he came to my quarters. He showed me hours of footage. Human parents teaching their children not to hit. Human police officers using minimal force. Human soldiers carrying wounded enemies to safety. Morrow's eyes grew distant with memory. There was one video of a human soldier in a war zone. He found a child from the enemy faction hiding in rubble. The child was terrified, probably expected to be killed. Do you know what the soldier did? Danny could guess, but he let Morrow continue. He gave the child his own food ration, sat with the child until reinforcements came, made silly faces to make the child laugh. Then he carried that child to safety, through active combat, protecting an enemy's offspring with his own life. That is what we are supposed to do, Danny said simply. But it is remarkable nonetheless. Morrow stood and Danny stood with him. You humans carry such capacity for harm, yet you choose compassion. That is not weakness. That is strength I cannot fully comprehend. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the stars. I voted to clear you in the tribunal, Morrow said. I want you to know that, and I will be recommending to my government that we pursue closer ties with humanity. Any species that works so hard to be better than its nature is a species worth knowing. After Morrow left, Danny remained at the observation window. Other beings came and went, some giving him curious looks, others nodding respectfully. The atmosphere had shifted since the tribunal. Fear was being slowly replaced by something else. Not quite trust yet, but maybe the beginning of understanding. Ambassador Patricia Lang found him an hour later. There you are. I have been looking everywhere. Sorry, Ambassador. Needed some quiet time. Patricia joined him at the window. I have news. The Coalition Council has officially accepted humanity's full membership. No probationary period, no restrictions. We are in. Danny felt a smile tug at his lips. That is good news. There is more. Patricia pulled out a data pad. 7 different species have requested joint training programs with human military forces. They want to learn our techniques for threat assessment and controlled response. They want to learn how to fight, Danny asked, surprised. They want to learn how to not fight, Patricia corrected. How to have power but not abuse it. How to be dangerous and disciplined at the same time. Apparently, we are the only species in the coalition that has really figured that out. We had to, Danny said. We did not have a choice. Maybe that is the point. Patricia looked at him thoughtfully. Most species in the coalition never faced the challenges we did. They never had to choose between survival and morality because their worlds were kind enough that both were possible. And humans had to choose constantly, Danny finished the thought. Yes, and somehow, despite everything, we usually chose right. Patricia put away the data pad. You are being reassigned, by the way. Danny's stomach dropped. Reassigned where? Cultural Liaison Office. We are creating a new program to help other species understand human psychology and behavior. Dr. Wells recommended you personally. Me, why? Patricia smiled. Because you are living proof that humans can be trusted. You had every excuse to kill Vorath. Self-defense, provocation, instinct training. Any tribunal would have understood, but you did not kill him. That makes you exactly the kind of example we need. I do not feel like a good example, Danny admitted. I still see it when I close my eyes, how close I came. Good, Patricia said firmly. Never forget how close you came. That awareness is what makes you safe. The day you stop being afraid of your own capacity for violence is the day you become actually dangerous. A chime sounded on Patricia's communicator. She checked it and sighed. I have another meeting. The silicates want to discuss mining rights. Never ends, does it? She started to leave, then paused. Danny, thank you for everything. You probably saved humanity's future in the coalition. I just did not kill someone, Danny said. Exactly, Patricia left. Danny turned back to the stars. Somewhere out there on thousands of worlds, people were making choices, fighting or fleeing, hurting or helping, taking or giving. Humans had the capacity for all of it, the good and the bad, the beautiful and the terrible. But they also had something else, something that no amount of evolution or training could fully explain. They had the ability to look at their worst impulses and say no. That, Danny was beginning to understand, was what made them human. 6 months had passed since the incident. Danny stood in the new Cultural Liaison Center, watching through the windows as a group of young avian cadets practiced defensive maneuvers under the instruction of Sergeant Lisa Park. The birds moved awkwardly, their light frames not built for the kind of physical confrontation humans trained for naturally. They are improving, Dr. Wells said, walking up beside Danny with 2 cups of coffee. Danny accepted one gratefully. They are trying hard, that is what matters. Your student seems particularly dedicated. Dr. Wells nodded toward a young avian named Risic, who was attempting a wrist lock technique for the 5th time in a row. Risic wants to join the Coalition peacekeeping force, Danny explained. His species has never had soldiers before. He is something new for them. Like you were for us when this started. Danny smiled slightly. I guess so. The door opened, and Ambassador Patricia Lang entered with a visitor. The newcomer was reptilian but smaller than a craven, with deep blue scales and gentler features. Danny, I would like you to meet Ambassador Trell from the Saurian Collective, Patricia said. She has a request. Trell bowed her head respectfully. Corporal Reed, I have heard much about you. Hopefully not all bad, Danny said, extending his hand. Trell looked at it curiously, then carefully shook it, having learned the human custom. Actually, all quite positive, Trell said, which is why I am here. The Saurian Collective would like to request human security advisors for our diplomatic missions. Danny glanced at Patricia, who nodded encouragement. We are not a warrior species, Trell continued. We have always relied on diplomacy and coalition laws to protect us, but recent incidents have shown that not all species respect peaceful intentions. The Kraven have been aggressive toward your delegations, Dr. Wells observed. Trell's scales darkened slightly, which Danny had learned was a sign of distress in her species. Yes, since Vorath's expulsion, his faction has become more hostile. They see us as weak. They push boundaries, make threats, sometimes resort to physical intimidation. And you want human bodyguards, Danny said. We want human examples, Trell corrected gently. Your species has shown us that strength and peace are not opposites, that one can be capable of violence but choose diplomacy instead. We wish to learn this balance. Patricia smiled. We have been receiving similar requests from 11 other species. It seems humanity has become rather popular as security consultants. I am not sure I am the right person for this, Danny said hesitantly. I am just a corporal. I nearly caused an interstellar incident. You are exactly the right person, Trell insisted. You have faced the choice between violence and restraint. You understand both options intimately. That experience is invaluable. Before Danny could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Patricia's communicator came alive with urgent messages. What is happening? Trell asked, her scales flickering with fear. Danny was already moving to the security console. Years of training kicked in automatically. He pulled up the station feeds, scanning for the threat. Section 7, near the Kraven quarters, he reported. Multiple signals showing physical altercation. The Kraven delegation is leaving today, Patricia said. They are being formally expelled from the station. Looks like they are not going quietly. Danny switched cameras. The screen showed chaos. Kraven delegates fighting with station security. Voreth was in the center, roaring and throwing guards aside like toys. "He has hostages," Dr. Wells said, pointing to the screen. A group of civilian workers huddled behind overturned furniture. Voreth held a young technician by the arm. Patricia was already on her communicator. "Station Commander Alex, this is Ambassador Lang. We can see the situation. What do you need?" Alex's voice came through, strained. "The Kraven are demanding transport off the station immediately, or they will harm the hostages. My security forces are outmatched. Kraven are physically superior to most species here." Danny watched the screen, counted hostages, assessed positions, calculated response options. His mind worked automatically, training and instinct combining into cold tactical analysis. "I can end this," he said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. "Danny, no," Patricia said. "This is not your responsibility." "Actually, it is." Danny was still watching the screen. "Cultural liaison, remember. This is a cultural misunderstanding. Voreth thinks strength means dominance. Someone needs to show him he is wrong." "He will kill you," Trell said, her voice shaking. "Kraven are twice as strong as humans." "Strength is not just about muscles." Danny headed for the door. "Dr. Wells, remember what you said. Humans fight against their own nature. Time to prove it works both ways." He was out the door before anyone could stop him. His feet carried him through familiar corridors. Other personnel fled past him, running from the danger. Danny ran toward it. He reached Section 7 in minutes. Station security had cordoned off the area but were keeping their distance. Voreth stood in the center of the chaos, holding the technician with one massive hand. The young human was crying, terrified. Danny walked forward slowly, hands visible and empty. "Voreth." The Kraven's yellow eyes fixed on him. Recognition flashed across the reptilian features, followed by rage. "You," Voreth hissed, "the human who humiliated me." "I never wanted to humiliate you," Danny said calmly, still walking closer. "I just wanted to not kill you. And now you will regret that choice." Voreth shook the technician roughly. "One more step and this human dies." Danny stopped, assessed. The technician was maybe 20 years old, terrified but unharmed. Voreth's grip was tight but not crushing. He was making a show of strength, not actual harm. Not yet. "Let him go, Voreth. This does not fix anything." "It fixes my honor," Voreth roared. "I was disgraced because of you, because I dared to discipline a subordinate species." "I was never subordinate to you," Danny said. "That was the problem. You expected submission and got respect instead. You did not understand the difference." "There is no difference. The strong dominate, the weak submit. This is natural law." Danny took another step forward. Security behind him raised weapons, but Danny signaled them to hold. "Is it natural for the strong to fear the weak?" Danny asked. Voreth's eyes narrowed. "I fear nothing." "Then why are you holding a hostage?" Another step. "If you are so strong, so superior, why do you need a shield?" "This is not fear, this is strategy." "No," Danny was close now, within Voreth's reach, dangerously close. "This is exactly what you accused me of. You are reacting without thinking, acting on instinct and anger. You are doing what you claimed humans do." "I am nothing like you," Voreth snarled. "Prove it." Danny spread his hands wide, completely vulnerable. "Let him go. Face me without a hostage. Show everyone watching that Kraven's strength does not need to hide behind innocent people." The corridor was silent. Everyone watched, waited. Voreth's grip on the technician loosened slightly. His pride warred with his anger. Danny could see it in his eyes. "You think you can fight me?" Voreth asked. "You would lose." "Probably," Danny agreed. "You are bigger, stronger, probably faster. But I am not here to fight you, Voreth. I am here to show you that strength is not just about winning." "Then what is it about?" Danny met his eyes steadily. Choosing not to fight when you could win, that is real power. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then slowly, Voreth released the technician. The young human scrambled away to safety. Voreth straightened to his full height, towering over Danny. "You are a fool." "Maybe," Danny did not back down. "But I am a fool who understands that respect is not taken, it is earned." Voreth stared at him for what felt like an eternity. Then, something shifted in his expression. Not quite respect, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. "Your species is strange," Voreth said finally. "We get that a lot." Station security moved in carefully, surrounding Voreth and the other Kraven. This time, there was no resistance. Voreth allowed himself to be escorted away, but his eyes remained on Danny until he was out of sight. Patricia rushed forward. "That was incredibly stupid." "I know," Danny said. "It was also incredibly brave," Trell added, approaching more slowly. Her scales had returned to their normal blue. "You walked into certain danger to save someone." "Just doing my job." "No," Trell placed a gentle hand on his arm. "You showed us something important. You showed us that humanity's strength is not in violence. It is in the choice to be better than violence demands." Later, after the reports were filed and the excitement had died down, Danny found himself back at the observation window. The stars looked the same as always, constant and unchanging. Dr. Wells joined him, as he often did these days. "Ambassador Trell officially requested you as security advisor to the Saurian delegation," the doctor said. "Patricia approved it. You ship out next month." "More babysitting duty," Danny said, but he was smiling. "More bridge building." Dr. Wells looked out at the stars. "You know what I find most remarkable about today? That I survived talking down an angry Kraven." That Voreth listened. Dr. Wells turned to him. "He listened to you, Danny. A species that respects only strength listened to wisdom instead. Do you understand what that means?" Danny thought about it. "It means things can change. It means humanity is changing things, not through force, not through fear, through example." Dr. Wells put a hand on Danny's shoulder. "6 months ago, you nearly killed someone. Today, you saved someone by showing restraint. That is the story humanity is writing in the galaxy." "What kind of story is it?" Dr. Wells smiled. "The best kind. One where the hero wins not by being the strongest, but by being the wisest. Where victory comes not from defeating enemies, but from making them understand." Danny looked down at his hands again. Hands that could kill. Hands that had chosen not to. Hands that would continue making that choice every day. "I can live with that story," he said. In the distance, a transport ship detached from the station, carrying Voreth and the expelled Kraven delegation away. Danny watched it go, wondering if Voreth had learned anything from their encounters. Maybe he had not. But humans would keep teaching anyway. Keep showing that strength meant more than muscle. Keep proving that the most powerful choice was the choice to be kind. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not violence, not domination. Just the simple, revolutionary idea that being strong meant knowing when not to use that strength. And maybe, Danny thought as he watched the stars, that was enough.